Hello and welcome everyone, it's Captain and today we are looking at our Vengeance Demon Hunter talent tree from the upcoming Dragonflight expansion. Let's start with our Fell Devastation, which is channeled 1 minute cooldown, unleash the Fell within you, damaging enemies directly in front of you. 4000 fire damage for over 2 seconds, causing damage also heals you for up to 2700 health. Okay, then we have our Frailty. Enemies struck by Sigil of Flame are afflicted by Frailty. Let's maybe reposition us a little bit so that we wouldn't really hear as much of these sounds. Yes, 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 that's way better. So, Frailty. Enemies struck by Sigil of Flame are afflicted by Frailty for 5 seconds. You heal for 8% of all damage you deal to targets with Frailty. Yeah, so additional sustain with you and stuff like that. So, like Fiery Brand, instant 1 minute cooldown brand, an enemy with a demonic symbol, instantly dealing fire damage and some fire damage over 10 seconds. The enemy damage done to you is reduced by 40% for 10 seconds. Which is quite logical and pretty normal for us. Perfectly balanced glaives. Glaive reduces the cooldown of throw glaive by 6 seconds, so a little bit more ranged glaive throwing. Deflecting spikes, demon spikes also increases your parry chance by 15% for 6 seconds, which gives you additional defenses. Abyssal haste reduces the cooldown of infernal strike by 8 seconds, which is quite good as well. Let's go with this part probably first. Retaliation. While demon spikes as active melee attacks against you cause the attacker to take 63 physical damage, generates high threat. So okay, additional damage. Passive damage. Fell Flame Fortification, you take 6% reduced magic damage while Immolation Aura is effective, so your Immolation Aura becomes a little bit of a more of a cooldown against magic damage. Sigil of Chains. Place a Sigil of Chains at the target location that activates after 2 seconds. All enemies affected by the sigil are pulled to its center and are snared, reducing movement speed by 70% for 6 seconds. So that's our pull up to the center ability, 1.5 minutes cooldown, instant. Here we have either one or another. Either Soul Barrier, instant 30 seconds cooldown, shield yourself for 12 seconds, absorb some damage, consumes all soul fragments within 25 yards to add additional shield amounts per fragment, or bulk extraction, instant 1.5 minute cooldown, here it was 30 seconds, demolish the spirit of all those around you, dealing pretty low fire damage to nearby enemies and extracting up to 5 lesser soul fragments, drawing them to you for immediate consumption. Alright, pretty interesting choice here. So either an absorption every 30 seconds or some additional fire damage on AoE every 1 point. And yeah, this character is not level 60 even, it's level 50, which means that numbers are quite lower everywhere. So yeah, fire damage to nearby enemies and extracts lesser soul fragments, drawing them to you immediately. Yeah, quite a choice here. Burning Blood, fire damage increased by 5 and then by 10%. Then Revel in Pain. Yeah, if you, as you can see, it's we're not up even by the with our level to take this. When Fiery Brand expires on your primary target, you gain a shield that absorbs up 2000 damage for 15 seconds based on your damage dealt to them while Fiery Brand was active. Okay. And now we have either Fiery Demise. Fiery Brand also increases fire damage you deal to the target by 20%. Okay, and then 40%, or Chains of Anger increases the radius of your sigils by 2 yards. Now let's go with center part. Roaring Flame. The Roaring Fire. Fell Devastation heals you for up to 30% more based on your maximum health, which means that you're gonna be able to heal yourself a little bit better while you're down on HP, which is quite handy. Extended Spikes increases the duration of demon spikes by 1 and then 2 seconds. Okay. Fallout. Immolation Aura Initial Burst has a chance to shatter lesser soul fragments from enemies. Okay. So additional chance of generation soul fragments. Then we go ruinous bulwark. Fell devastation heals for an additional 10%, and 50% of its overhealing is converted into an absorb shield for 10 seconds. That's if you're if you're like staying on top of your full health. More often. Volatile flame blood. Immolation aura generates from 5 to 10 fury when it deals critical damage. Oh, so more crits, more fury generation. This effect may only occur once per 1 second, which means that it's probably gonna occur pretty often if you have quite a high amounts of critical strike chance. Dark glare boon. When field devastation finishes fully channeling, it refreshes from 10 to 20. Why from 10 to 20? Why this like chances of its cooldown, or maybe like it's just random of its cooldown, and refunds from 10 to 20 fury, and then from 20 to 40 both representative stats. All right. Let's take some points here. So here we have either Sheer Fury. Sheer generates 10 additional Fury, or Fracture replaces Sheer. Melee range 3.9 seconds recharge, 2 charges, generates 25 Fury. Rapidly slashes your target for 600 physical damage, and shatter 2 lesser soul fragments from them. Okay, and on the Sheer we have Sheer for 300 and shatters a lesser soul fragment, generates 10 Fury. Here we have 25 Fury, twice as damage, 2 lesser soul fragments, still melee range, but has cooldown, right? Oh yeah, so has recharge. And this doesn't. And here we can just get an additional Fury on Sheer. So that's like, that's for you to decide if you want to use more Sheers, and like, if you have time to weave more of them, or if you have more close and more narrow windows of opportunity to use some melee skills on your targets. Calcified spikes. You take 10% reduced damage after demon spikes ends, fading by 1% per second, which is quite good. Always all the reduced damage taken is quite good. Spirit bomb. Instant 45 fury, consumes up to 5 available soul fragments, then explode, damaging nearby enemies for fire damage per fragment consumed, and afflicting them with frailty for 5 seconds, causing you to heal for 8% of damage you deal to them. Deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. So that's for you to heal from the AoE targets, and to consumes your soul fragments, explodes, additional AoE damage. Feast of Souls. Soul Cleave heals you for an additional 400 health over 6 seconds, so additional self-sustain. Agonizing Flames. Immolation Aura increases your movement speed by 10%, and its duration is increased by 25%. So you can like take a pretty big amount of stuff for your Immolation Aura, but it's scattered quite heavy. Void River. If Frailty now also reduces all damage you take from afflicted targets by 4%. Enemies struck by Soul Cleave are afflicted with Frailty for 5 seconds as well. So even more damage mitigation on AoE. I guess yes, it was Frailty was going from Spirit Bomb, and Soul Cleave now gives Frailty on targets as well. Soul Furnace. Every 10 seconds of soul fragments you consume increases the damage of your next Soul Cleave or Spirit Bomb by 40%. Okay, so additional damage, additional AoE damage, again, pretty more like M+ oriented and stuff. While you're consuming soul fragments. Then Painbringer. Consuming a soul fragment reduces all damage you take by 1% for 4 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap. So then for 2%, so again more damage reduces, which is quite impactful on like your M+ runs, which is quite good, I guess. Fallout initial burst has a chance to we didn't look at the Fallout, or either that or I've forgotten about it. Yeah, your immolation aura initial burst has a chance to shatter lesser soul fragments from. No. We've saw that. Yeah, let's go with final talents, I guess. We need 5 more. So yeah, on level 50 character wouldn't really able to click the talents themselves. Focused cleave. Soul cleave deals 40% increased damage to your primary target. Okay. So increased damage, all right. Soulmonger, so that's more of if you need like splash damage from your AoE part of the skill, and if you want to use it on single target. Then Soulmonger, when consuming a soul fragment, would heal you above full health. It shields you instead up to maximum of some damage. We don't know the number on the high levels with this, but yeah, it looks it's pretty good that you can go with absorb, and you can go way after your health cap ends. Is it gonna be useful in all situations? Probably not, but still there can be uses to it 100%. Vulnerability. Frailty now also increases all damage you deal to afflicted targets by 4%, which is quite massive, because you can use your spirit bombs with cleave. You can spread your frailty. It's gonna be pretty awesome debuff for you on enemies. The weak wield, and then there's 2 applications of this, which means that there's gonna be probably 8% damage, which is quite good. The weak wield, multiple applications of frailty may overlap. Soul cleave applies frailty to your primary target for 5 seconds. So even more frailty, even more debuffs, even less damage taken, even more damage inflicted. Yeah. Okay, pretty cool. So you can go with the debuff, like you can make an accent onto this debuff. Then Fell Devastation. So here we have quite an emphasis on Fell Devastation, some spikes and Immolation Aura. Fell Devastation damage increased by 40%. Then Feed the Demon, consuming a soul fragment reduces the remaining cooldown of demon spikes by 0.25 seconds, probably 0.5 seconds with level 2, and which means that you're gonna have a way better uptime of your demon spikes, which is quite handy. Then Soul Carver, melee range instant 1 minute cooldown. Carve into the soul of your target, dealing fire damage and an additional dot fire damage. Over 3 seconds, immediately shatters 2 lesser soul fragments from the target and 1 additional soul fragment every 1 second, which makes this ability quite single target oriented. So nothing with AoE here. Then Last Resort, sustaining fatal damage instead transform you to metamorphosis form. This may occur on once every 8 minutes, so that's for you to if you know that you're gonna need to tank through some phase or an encounter, or some like very high burst damage, maybe in PvP, maybe somewhere else, probably not as much in M+. This can be quite handy with 8 minutes cooldown. I guess like either Fodder of the Flame, your damaging abilities have a chance to call forth a condemned demon for 25 seconds. Throw glaive deals lethal damage to the demon, which explodes on death, dealing damage to nearby enemies and healing you for 25% of your maximum health. The explosion deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. Pretty cool ability. So yeah, you're summoning a condemned demon, then you're blowing him up, healing yourself, dealing AoE damage. Quite cool. And no cooldown here. You're damaging. Oh, so that's just a chance, and still no proc chance info. Then Elysian Decree, instant 1 minute cooldown. Place a Kyrian sigil, so that's like your Kyrian ability, at the target location that activates after 2 seconds, detonates to deal massive arcane damage and shatter up to 3 lesser soul fragments from enemies affected by the sigil, deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets, which is again as well AoE ability, just not proc based. It's a cooldown with 1 minute cooldown, 30 yards range, so yeah, just like additional sigil. Then in the left part of the tree, which we've saw up to the Fiery brand increases fire damage and increases the radius. Yeah, so up to here we need to look at these talents now as well. Just burning alive. Every 2 seconds fiery brand spreads to one nearby enemy, which is quite cool, and you can like probably infect all the pack with your fiery brands. Yeah, if they go one of another, that's, I don't know. And cycle of building. Afflicting an enemy with a sigil reduces the cooldown of your sigils by 2 seconds, which is quite, yeah, here we see quite heavy emphasis on sigils. Charred flesh. Immolation aura damage increases the duration of your firebrand by 0.25 and then probably by 0.5 second, which means that it's gonna spread even more if it didn't had a chance to do that. Firebrand has 50% second reduced cooldown and 1 additional charge. So yeah, just like very hardly branded part of the talent tree. Well, that all looks pretty cool. Maybe not as much. Yeah, I'm not an expert on demon hunters in no imaginable way. As for usual, demon hunters, they're quite cool in their own aesthetic. I guess their aesthetic is revealed in the talent tree pretty good. You can go into brands, you can go in your immolation aura and your spikes, or you can go just into the straight up some AoE skills and additional defensive buffs. You can apply debuffs on enemy that gives you pretty good bonuses and stuff like that. There are quite a bit of reduced damage taken here as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you've liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if that's okay with you, and have a good day. Goodbye.